Well, the Supreme Court has today refused to entertain the plea filed by 14 opposition parties alleging misuse of central agencies like the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI by the centre. Now, as seeking guidelines for the future, sensing the court's drift, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who was representing the opposition, withdrew his plea. But not before some very scathing observations were made by the court, calling the petition a save politicians plea. The CJI said that political leaders cannot be placed on a pedestal higher than ordinary citizens. This after the plea sought netas to be arrested only after application of the triple test. Now, the court made it clear that special guidelines cannot be issued specifically for the politicians, that too without specific factual context. And despite a perceived loss of face, the opposition is sticking to its persecution argument. Hear it from the opposition after the top court's scathing observations.
The court heard us with great patience. They ultimately did not entertain it, but did not express a single opinion on the merits. They allowed the matter to be withdrawn. They recorded that it's at this stage, which means that full liberty is there for us to come again on new facets, new grounds. 95% of all cases involve opposition leaders as far as the political sphere is concerned. That, according to us, skews democracy, makes democracy one-sided. The court felt that in individual cases we are here to save you, to protect you, to deal with you, but in a macro sense, we are not entertaining this at this stage.
You heard it from the Congress, and it was Abhishek Manu Singhvi immediately resort to that reaction after having represented the 14 opposition parties in the top court today. The BJP has called the verdict vindication of their stand against corruption. But undeterred by the setback in the Supreme Court, the opposition insists that truth, which according to them is misuse of agencies, is visible even though they may have not been able to prove it in the apex court.
करोड़ों रुपए का भ्रष्टाचार करने के बाद जब जांच शुरू होती है तो कभी सड़कों पर उतरते हैं, कभी सदन रोकने का काम करते हैं। सभी भ्रष्टाचारी एक मंच पर आने का प्रयास करते हैं, लेकिन ये जनता में भी इनका चेहरा बेनकाब हुआ है और कोर्ट में भी असलियत जानने का मौका मिला है।
What is happening with the agencies is for all to see. If 95% of all ED cases are against India opposition and there's a fourfold increase in that, somebody has to turn around and ask these relevant questions. But the reality today is it's no longer misuse of agencies. You're trying to disqualify parliamentarians who are questioning you. You have an issue with history that actually shows you in poor light.
Let's quickly open this up. For now, we're being joined by spokesperson of the BJP, Mr. Tom Vadakkan, also Samajwadi spokesperson IP Singh. My first question, though, is to Mr. IP Singh, given that this was a plea filed by as many as 14 opposition parties, of which Samajwadi Party was one of them. IP Singh, the petition from the opposition stands dismissed as withdrawn, but the one thing that the Supreme Court said, the CJI said in as many words, and I want you to come in on this, is the fact that the politicians must not think of themselves above the law. आप इससे सहमत है सर? क्या कहेंगे आज टॉप कोर्ट में जो ऑब्जर्वेशंस थी सीजीआई को लेके उस पे?
देखिए, भारत की जो न्याय व्यवस्था है और माननीय चंद्रचूड़ जी जब से सीजीआई बने हैं और तब से देखा जाए तो समय समय पर मोदी सरकार को आईना दिखाने का काम किया है। इसमें हताशा की कोई बात नहीं है। बस इतनी सी बात है कि जो सेंट्रल ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसीज हैं, ये आखिर नारायण राणे के घर पर क्यों नहीं जाती? क्या वो वॉशिंग मशीन थी, उसमें वो धुल दिए गए?
नहीं तो ऑपोजिशन इन केसेस को, इन एग्जांपल्स को लीगली क्यों नहीं चैलेंज करती आईपी सिंह जी? आपके पास पूरा समय था, अपॉर्चुनिटी थी, अपना केस सीजीआई के सामने रखते, नारायण राणे का केस सामने रखते, पर ऐसे एग्जांपल्स ऑपोजिशन क्यों सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने नहीं रख रही है? और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आज यही कहा है कि जनरलाइज मत करिए, एक जनरल एलिगेशन पे आप एक्सपेक्ट मत करिए कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट कोई वर्डिक्ट देगा।
इस तरह से व्यवहार हो रहा है, कैसे ये सेंट्रल एजेंसीज कैसे अपोजिशन को टॉर्चर कर रही हैं और किसके इशारे पर कर रही हैं, पूरा देश जानता है। मैं तो यही कहना चाहता हूं कि शुभेंदु अधिकारी के घर पर सीबीआई का हमला होता है, लेकिन जब वो बीजेपी के वॉशिंग मशीन में धुल के बीजेपी में शामिल हो गए तो ईडी सीबीआई अब वहां जाती नहीं। येदियुरप्पा के ऊपर जांच चल रही थी।
आपने अभी भी मेरे सवाल का जवाब नहीं दिया आईपी सिंह जी। विपक्ष के पास पूरा समय था, पूरी स्पेस थी यही आर्ग्यूमेंट सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने रखने के लिए, पर एक बहुत जेनेरिक आर्ग्यूमेंट सामने रखा गया और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपने ऑब्जर्वेशंस में साफ कहा है दैट यू कांट एक्सपेक्ट द पॉलिटिशियंस टू बी केप्ट अबव द लॉ, व्हाई शुड दे नॉट बी ट्रीटेड एज ऑर्डिनरी सिटीजन। सिंपल सी एक ऑब्जर्वेशन सुप्रीम कोर्ट की ओर से आई है, आपने अभी तक जवाब नहीं दिया मेरे सवाल का। कम बैक टू यू, लेट मी गो क्रॉस टू टॉम वड़क्कन बिकॉज आपके सवाल भाजपा से हैं। आईपी सिंह जी बात सुन लीजिए, this is not a debate for one person to express his views. Let me please go across to others as well. You've leveled certain charges at the BJP. Mr. Tom Vadakkan, please respond.
Well, that's strange. I mean, he started his argument saying that, mentioning the CGI personally, saying that he's holding a mirror against the government. Now, is the CGI holding a mirror to the opposition? I mean, these are questions in public domain. The question that this gentleman is asking, why no case has been withdrawn against any BJP leader. It is being investigated, and it's a reality that we will not spare anybody, whichever party they belong. Now, this washing machine theory is something that they have been running for some time, but this doesn't hold water. There's no water in the washing machine to clean it. It's purely a washing machine in theory that they are displaying, which does not have water, nor soap, nor detergent. Because we take people who are with clean moral grounds. And now there's a case, the issue that Chief Minister of Delhi made an accusation against the Honorable Assam Chief Minister, and he took him on straight. He said, okay, if you have a case, come out of the assembly and say that in public. But no, they won't. Because this is a narrative that they're trying to build. And they don't have... Now, as you rightly asked, why couldn't you take it to the Supreme Court? No, they didn't. Because the reason is that it doesn't hold any water. Now, the glue that holds them together is the glue of corruption. And when they have that glue, and when they realize that glue is failing, then you will find this unity all disappearing. Because whether it is TRS there, or Mamta's party, or Telangana, other parties, the glue is because of the corruption charges that are against them, the advanced stage of investigation that is going on, and 2 ministers of the Aam Aadmi party are already in jail. So why do you blame the BJP? We are going by a policy line of zero tolerance against corruption, and that's our motto, and we will continue doing it in public domain. In
so
private domain.
Corruption is the only glue that sticks the opposition together. We also have Deshratan Nigam ji with us here on the broadcast. Mr. Deshratan Nigam, before I take it across to Mr. IP Singh for a response, what would you say today? Because the BJP, of course, has come out to say that, look, this is the only plank that can bring the opposition together. Nothing else has been able to so far unite the opposition. But as far as the top court's observations are concerned, very scathing in nature, a supreme setback coming in for these 14 opposition parties. And in that sense, the court saying it in as many words, don't think of yourself as above the law or as anyone else apart from the ordinary citizen. That's how you will have to face the law at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely, Kritsween. That once the Supreme Court made observations, they were quite scathing. It's a lesson for political parties that corruption should not be the glue of unity, as pointed out by Mr. Tom Vadakkan. Rather, you should be united on certain policies or ideologies. But if you look at all these cases, except very few, against Samajwadi, the cases were started on the complaint of Mayawati. Against Mayawati, they were started by the complaint of Samajwadi Party. Against Mamta Banerjee, the complaints were by Congress. Against Congress, many of the complaints are by Mamta Banerjee. These are old cases. Only ED is doing its duty. Now the process is, so far as ED and CBI is concerned, it is controlled by the court. There cannot be a washing machine. The process has to be controlled by the court, and the courts control the process.
Legally speaking, Mr. Deshratan Nigam, they were speaking of the triple test. They were talking about, whether a person is a flight risk, whether there's a reasonable apprehension of the tampering of evidence, or influencing intimidation of witnesses. For arrest and remand, the petitioners were seeking the triple test. The court says, why do you think applies to you? Why should you be not arrested given a triple test formula that perhaps has not been applied to anyone else in the past? If you could legally help us understand this, sir.
Yes, yes. Kritsween, in fact, this petition was a very clever strategy and manipulative strategy to carve out a separate class for opposition politicians which are above the law, as you rightly pointed out, so far as the court observations are concerned, and they are above the ordinary people. And therefore, this is where the courts saw through, that they want a general guidelines by extrapolating statistics which only covered the politicians. So therefore, they made it very clear, you are not above the law, your rights are same as that ordinary citizens. If individual people have some problem, please come to the court individually and we'll look on merits. So to go as with a glue of corruption and then go to the court and say pass a general guidelines for politicians, opposition politicians, who they consider themselves to be superior to the others, then the process became quite vitiated and they were forced to withdraw the petition. Therefore, the Supreme Court was quite clear in its observation, and I think it should be a lesson for opposition.
How fair is that, Mr. I.P. Singh? How fair is it to, perhaps by the virtue of the position you enjoy in the country today, of being politicians in the country today, you're seeking this kind of an immunity? The Supreme Court has turned it down, sir. Supreme Court कह रहे कि कोई अलग immunity नहीं है opposition के politicians के पास कि वो ऐसा relief Supreme Court से expect करे.
देखिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास तो अपोजिशन जाएगा ही जाएगा, और इसी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अभी समय समय पर मोदी सरकार को घेरा है जी। और अपोजिशन जिस बात को उठाता है, हमारी बात को ध्यान से आप सुनिए। उत्तर प्रदेश में चुनाव था, इनकम टैक्स की रेट शुरू हो गई, तमाम छोटे बड़े लोगों के घरों पर इनकम टैक्स के अधिकारी जाने लगे, ईडी के अधिकारी आ गए, सीबीआई आ गई, रेड होने लगे। जैसे ही उत्तर प्रदेश का चुनाव खत्म हुआ, सीबीआई ईडी इनकम टैक्स ने जो तोता है वो यहां से उड़ गया और अगले राज्यों में जहां चुनाव था वहां पहुंच गया। पश्चिम बंगाल में हम सबने देखा, आज कर्नाटक में चुनाव है, सभी जितनी जांच एजेंसियां हैं सब वहां पहुंच चुकी हैं। ये सवाल मीडिया के सामने खड़ा है, ये सवाल मीडिया को पूछना चाहिए कि अगर इस तरह की रवैया केंद्र सरकार अपनाती है, प्रधानमंत्री जी का एक बात कह,
आप इसे इलेक्शन से लिंक कर रहे हैं सर, पर द फैक्ट रिमेन्स मिस्टर आईपी सिंह दैट दिस रिलीफ वाज बीइंग sought for politicians in the opposition, and the Supreme Court says you're no different than an ordinary citizen of the country. If Nikhil Jain is through, let me quickly take it across to him. Mr. Nikhil Jain, can you hear me?
और ऑटोनोमस बॉडी को कैसे प्रधानमंत्री डायरेक्शन दे सकते हैं कि 300 दिन में खलास कर दीजिए? अब भाई 9 साल बीत गए, आप कर रहे थे, आप 300 दिन का टारगेट कैसे दे सकते हैं?
आईपी सिंह जी, चलिए एक सवाल का जवाब दे दीजिए आप मुझे। इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट का आर्ग्यूमेंट था। आईपी सिंह जी, बात सुन लीजिए, आपने अपनी बात सामने रख दी है। आईपी सिंह जी, मेरी बात सुन लीजिए। देयर इज नो पॉइंट स्पीकिंग ओवर मी सर, दैट्स नॉट हाउ वी डिबेट हियर ऑन दिस चैनल। प्लीज होल्ड ऑन टू योर थॉट्स। द इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट सेज, आईपी सिंह जी, कि टोटल नंबर ऑफ केसेस फाइल्ड अगेंस्ट एमएलएज, एक्स एमएलएज, एमपीज, एक्स एमपीज इज जस्ट 176, which is just 2.9% of the total money laundering cases. क्या आप इस 2.98% के लिए लड़ रहे हैं? क्या ऑपोजिशन आज कोर्ट के कटघरे में खड़ी हो गई है इस 2% की लड़ाई के लिए सर?
ये तीनों जांच एजेंसियां अपोजिशन को दे दीजिए। बीजेपी के अगर 99% लोग उनके घरों में रुपया भरा पड़ा है, हम लिस्ट दे रहे हैं, वहां रेड करें ना। यहाँ केशव प्रसाद मौर्य, उनके घर पर रेड करिए।
नहीं, आप क्या कह रहे हैं कि अगर इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी विपक्ष को दे दी गई तो भाजपा पे रेड पड़ेगी, क्या आप ये बोल रहे हैं?
धर्मेंद्र प्रधान, पीयूष गोयल, इनके स्मृति ईरानी, इनके घरों में।
सर, you can't just keep going on a rant and make all these baseless allegations, but since this is about opposition versus the BJP, the opposition hasn't let go of this obsession they have with regards to the agencies and the BJP and how the two are perhaps working together. Tom Vadakkan, if you could quickly respond to what Mr. I.P. Singh has said.
I mean, it's not worth reacting because he's on a defamatory note. He's naming cabinet ministers and others. But one argument which I would like to tell him is, he says whenever elections are there, the income tax raids happen. It is under the election commission that raids happen because there is clear instruction of how much money can be spent on these. When there's intelligence report to the election commission or other authorities, naturally the income tax authorities will be active. And that can happen to anybody in any state. So the point here is, if you have that kind of money, hush money or black money, whatever you call it, to hide, election time is spending time, and then when the election commission takes cognizance of it, there's bound to be income tax rates.
Well, it's not for the first time, Mr. Vadakkan, that, the opposition has come out to level that charge at the BJP. Not to forget that there have been in the past, under UPA rule as well, several in the opposition who've been raided by several agencies and investigations that have taken place against the BJP, which was in the opposition back then. So I'm not quite sure how convincing that argument is, but the fact remains the court has said if the cases are having a ripple effect as far as the opposition strategy is concerned, then that matter, the answer lies in the political space and not in the space of the courts. Let's see how this plays out. Very interesting observations made by the court. Mr. Vadakkan, Mr. Deshratan Nigam and IP Singh ji, thank you for speaking to us here on Times Now. With that, we need to quickly shift our focus to the